All right. So the reason I wanted to do this Zoom was because when we first got started in this program, we didn't know about it. And we kind of like, we've always wanted to travel. We've just been very whimsical people. And it wasn't until Hurricane Irma hit Southwest Florida, where we were living at the time, and we started volunteering with our church to get trees off houses, deliver water, do all the things. And our pastors came to us and said, hey, you know, well, we had went to them. We read The Purpose Driven Life, and Shane called me while he was volunteering, and he said, hey, I don't know what we have to do, but we need to figure out how to be able to do this every day. Like, this is so much more gratifying to volunteer than it is to work for a paycheck. Shane owned his own handyman business down in Southwest Florida. It still is very successful. They still call him. They still say
every other day.
the other day you got a call, and the guy was like, hey, can you do my bathroom? And he's like, I don't know when I'll be in Florida again. He said, I'll wait. I was like, dude, it might be like a year, but he's waiting because Shane does really good work. So we went to our pastors and we talked about it, and they said, well, there's actually a program for you to be able to volunteer and travel the United States and rebuild churches. Never had heard of it. And then, so we put in our application, which we are personally, we're what's called Missionary Associates. And I'm going to go over the two different types that there are. So we had an actual application. We had to have like a background check. Ours was a little bit more extensive. So they approved us, and we tried it out for a month because, you don't know if you're really going to love your husband that much, right? Being that close to him for that long, right? You're in a fifth wheel for 30 days straight with him and your kids. So we came back, and it was funny because we were in the house, and he's like, there's so much room in here. Like, we were walking really far to the bathroom and really far to the kitchen. So we decided to sell the house. We sold everything. We donated most of our stuff to Hurricane Michael victims, which happened the month that we left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then we started going up Florida, and our first volunteer job there was in the Panhandle right after the hurricane hit. Now, usually these jobs have to kind of be vetted, which means like they put an application in with the MAPS program. They make sure that they have all the funding and all of the, certificates or whatever they need. And then eventually we get there. So it's not a lot of disaster relief, just an FYI. It's a lot of maintenance and revamping and shining and things like that. So we really just want to get the word out about the program for people who are traveling, because I know there's a lot of like work amping and different things where you can go and volunteer at campgrounds, but I don't think people know a lot about this program, and it's pretty amazing. Like, we're super blessed to have been where we've been, and we don't pay for the sites. He volunteers, and we get to see a lot of the United States. And when I hear what people say, pay for campsites, I'm like, that's a mortgage. Like, that's my solid mortgage payment. So I do worry about people hitting the road and having to pay for that. So I'm always like, hey, there's a better way, right? For us, this was the better way. Okay, the two different sides of the program. There's a voluntary side, and my friend Heather, who just applied, she may jump on or may not. Her children are a little under the weather. She just applied last week. So I was like, listen, if they have questions, will you answer? Because I applied 3 years ago, and I was like, maybe things have changed. So that application is really easy. You just print it out. I'll actually give you the link on here whenever we're all finished. So the volunteer program, the only requirements are that you volunteer for 2 weeks a year, and then you stay active in the program. And I honestly don't even know how much they really watch that, because they have about 700 to 800 volunteers. And I know that a lot of them are extremely active because
No.
we went a long time without working with people. And I was like, where are they all at? They're not present. The other thing is a missionary associate. So that is what we are. You do have to get a background check. You do have to have a pastor give you a letter of recommendation. But when you are a missionary associate, you can ask for donations. We wanted the option of that in case that ever came up, but we don't personally do that because we're super awkward. We're not good at like asking people to donate to us. I'm sure there's books about it, but I'm just not good at that stuff. And a lot of people do ask us, how are we so young? And how do we travel the United States and volunteer? Like, obviously, you still have to pay for diesel and food and things like that. So for us, I work with a residual income network marketing company. If you're looking into something like that, I just want you to be careful, right? Because there's a lot out there. I don't want people to get screwed over. I don't want you to fall into a bad one. So some tips just from someone who actually does this: make sure your company has been around a long time, because most of them like fizzle out after 5 years. That's just the record in the industry. Make sure they have a lot of good products that you like and trust, and they kind of align with you and your family and your values and your beliefs. Because I've seen some that are, again, shady. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for traveling, so I kind of watch what like is being sold, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really just want to protect all of my traveling people. Also, you want to make sure that you're marketing to a lot of people. Sometimes it's like just the sex, like only women with makeup or leggings, or only weight loss, right? So if you're gonna go that route to be able to afford this, just make sure that you look into the company, and you kind of ask a lot of questions. Go into some groups and ask some moms, hey, does anybody work for this company? What do you think about it? And if you have any questions about stuff like that, just ask me, because it's what I do and it's how we're able to do this on the road full time and not really worry about the financial side. And for me, I always want to see people hit their goals and live out their best dream, really, because I kind of hate that paper stops us from like doing all we want in life. And I say paper because that's what money really is, right? We need to get to the gold dollar. I'm always here to help people find a way. And I think, honestly, that is one of mine and Shane's biggest thing, is everything is figure outable. And I know that might not actually be a word, but it truly is the motto of our family. Like, if something breaks in our house, he's gonna figure out how to fix it, or we're gonna figure out a way to get somewhere, or we're gonna figure out a way to make sure that we financially can get to the next job, right? Like, it's always figure outable. And I think I have a bunch of like little Bible quotes, and it was really cool. So I was sitting here praying before this, and today, the one we've been working on today is "Be still and know I am God." And for me, what really came over was like, Tammy, be calm. You are not on stage. I am. You are the vessel. Slow and steady. Move my message forward. Right. So that to me is like, okay, I don't have all the answers. People are always like, how do you guys know where you're going? And do you pick it like a year in advance? And I'm like, not even close. Like, we literally just listen to God, and we wait for an opportunity to come in front of us and say, hey, do you want to go to Montana at the base of the Glacier Mountain National Park for summer and help us rebuild like a massive Bible camp? And we were like, yes. And they're like, well, don't you all got to think about it? I was like, no. Did you hear what you just said? Like, why would anybody say no to that opportunity? So Shane just called the pastor tonight. He's like, he's really nice.
I talked to him tonight, and he's like, well, how long are you going to stay? I'm like, whatever. I mean, I don't have any plans, so I can
Right.
get more done, you know.
Yeah, so it's nice that we don't like we really try not to plan. We try to follow God's promptings. Honestly, that's just our lifestyle. Other little verses that I got that kind of made me think of like if I was a new traveler wanting to apply for a volunteer program, like what are some things that might be able to give you strength that you could pray on? And it would be Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. Philip, Philippians, Jesus, 4:13. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Because again, it was a huge leap of faith for us. I mean, we moved from Pittsburgh to Florida. He worked for the union, he had a pension. People thought we had lost our minds. We bought a house sight unseen. We're just really like, I just trust him to guide me. Like, I know we're crazy, right? All right. So, Shane, will you tell them a little bit about? Okay. So, a lot of people are like, what does my husband have to be able to do? Because he doesn't even know how to use a hammer. So, I was like, okay, cool. We got a job for him.
And it can be husband, wives, whatever. I mean, wives, there's a lot of camps that we go to. They can do catering, you know, work in the lunchroom because a lot of them have lunchrooms and you just serve food. You can do laundry in like their hotels and stuff. Um, Easy stuff like that. Just cleaning, even. But even men, anybody, skill set. There's really, it's from A to Z. I mean, anything you can do will help. People will teach you there, from painting to carpentry. I mean, I do firework. I do a bunch of stuff, but you don't need to do a bunch of stuff. All you need to do is have one skill set, and they'll put you on that job. If you're good at painting, they'll put you on painting. If you're good at carpentry, they'll help you do carpentry. If you don't know nothing, you can stand beside somebody who knows a bunch and learn something. I mean, it's very simple. You know, nobody degrades you for not doing any work. It's not like, you know, if you don't know how to do something, they're not going to talk behind your back like, well, this guy can't do anything. They're going to pull you aside and help you do something.
Yeah, and they actually have a convention once a year where one, they sell tools at really insanely stupid cheap, and two, they train you on site. So they actually train you how to tape and how to put up
They
what's
have
that
like
stuff in the walls?
HVAC training and drywall
Drywall,
training and carpentry training. They have classes for you to even take for free
which
if
is
you wanted to do it that way. We've never been yet up there, but
yeah, we're we're all over the place. They're like, you guys got to get the convention. I was like, can we do it on Zoom? And they actually did it this year. All right. How to know what the schedule is. So there are actually over 100 active jobs in the United States plus Alaska. Just so you know, we're probably going up to Alaska next summer. So if that tickles any of your fancies, you need to get your application in now because they do take a caravan of about 10 to 15 and we all drive up together in case anything happens. Um, and there's a lot of jobs in Alaska. They bust them out really quick because of obviously
and we get
winter.
enough people, we can stay longer. We'll make our own caravan.
It's always like, let's stay longer in Alaska, right? So yeah, there's over 100 active jobs and there's a waiting list. So again, you're never going to run out of stuff to do. But will you tell them how you find our jobs?
So every week I get a list on an email, and it tells me from A to Z, every city, every state that needs worked on, how many hookups are available, what needs done at each one of them. And then it gives you contact information, everything. You can contact them, find out, you know, how many sites are still available, what actually needs done, and you just go from there. And you tell them your skill set, and they'll save you a spot, and you pull in and do work.
Yeah. So like we said, we just talked to the pastor today. So he's like, okay, I'm going to save you a spot. And then my friends on here, Kelly and Heather, who just applied, they said, we'll just temporarily save them a spot. She's a traveling nurse. So we have to make sure that she can possibly get a location up there to work. And then she'll work and her husband will volunteer. I can hang out with kids. I do it all day long anyway, right? All right. Oh, another cool thing is there are 60 plus stops that are not active jobs that have hookups that you can stop at for free. So, I mean, I think that these are like don't stay for like a month, probably. We've
Mhm.
never done them, and I don't know that there's actually rules around them. But as you're traveling, let's say you're trying to get over to California, you can just call all of these stops. We have a whole entire list of them and say, hey guys, can we stop by for a couple days?
They're all churches that are on the list. They're in maps and they don't need any work done, but they've had work done. So they still have hookups for everybody. So they're on the list where you can just swing in and stay and hook up. And I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty
nobody's
sweet.
going to throw you out. I
No.
mean, that's
Okay, that's another like super awesome thing is I know a lot of Christians are like, I don't want to leave my home family, like my church family. Our church family has grown astronomically. And it's because as we travel, I mean, my sons have so many grandmas and like they're like huge into, giving them all the workout sheets for coloring. And Miss Diane, she called the other day. She's like, do you need more sheets for them? And I was like, yeah, it's like send them. So we have a huge feeling that we still have family around us, which is amazing because again, as you're traveling, it can get lonely, right? But so if you're at a campground, it's like that awkward, like, I don't know, these people nice or not nice. But when you're at a church, I mean, you go to prayer time in the morning before
right.
you work, and then you go to church on Wednesday and Sunday with them. We go out to lunch or dinner after we get done working. Like we go to like the farm festival things, like the fruit
Mhm.
stands, whatever. We just hang out.
I have so many pastor friends in my phone now that I just call randomly all the time. That Maine and Colorado and just they're all over
Yeah.
the place.
So our favorite stop so far has been Maine. If you have not been to Maine, I am begging you to put it on your bucket list, and you have to be there for a long time. So we were there for a little over a month, and we were about 20 minutes outside of Baja Harbor, which is astronomical pricing. So I actually looked up the average pricing because this is stuff that I'm like, I want people to know what a great opportunity this is. The average price for a month stay in Bar Harbor, like, and I think this is actually right now, not even in season,
Mhm.
was $2,940. If you're gonna get a campsite, you're gonna pay $3,000 for a campsite. Now,
Uh-huh.
when it's cold, just so you know, they still have snow. Like this isn't even the cool time to be there. We were there in July, which is the highest peak point of their season, and we
And we were
watched
there
the.
by ourselves too. There was no other helpers with us. It was just us.
Well, that was like our first job outside of the COVID. So, things were a little weird this last year. Um, so I think that that's what happened with that one. I really think there'd have been a lot of people there. So he put in an industrial kitchen there because they are, what do you call that?
um,
Like a storm shelter?
yeah, it's a storm shelter for snow and
Yeah.
ice, and when people lose power, they have a huge generator to keep the church running. They have shower stalls and everything downstairs for men and women, locker rooms, pretty much. So we put a huge commercial kitchen in with everything to feed 50 to 100 people, and there's room for them to sleep there. So they would go there for weeks if their power went out or whatever. They can have a shelter.
So he would work until like 2 or 3, right? He'd volunteer. Kids are over there vacuuming and helping, and the pastor, he's teaching them how to play guitar. I mean, it was like the cutest scenario ever. And then we'd watch the sunset every night from a different location over water. Like it was the most magical summer ever. And I'm like, I can't believe I actually get to live this life, right? And I don't have to go into debt for it. Because again, I'm like, I can't believe that people pay $3,000 for a month to stay somewhere. Okay, there are about 700 to 800 people in the program. Now, their goal, which I'm speaking tomorrow, I'm getting on Zoom with one of their directors because I personally feel I could just help their marketing team a little bit, is to bring on 52 new people a year, like to volunteer. I'm like, I'm going to blow that out of the water the first year that y'all have me doing anything. And the reason I say that is so right now in America, our average homeschooling rate is between 3 and 6% of kids are homeschooled in the United States in a normal year, right? Because of COVID, it has jumped to 40%. And there is a huge number saying, I didn't know that I could do this. Like, I think I can do this. Another thing is 1 in 5 jobs in America are going to be remote by 2025. And that's because they realized that they don't have to pay for offices. They don't have to pay for energy in the building, like all kind of stuff. They're like, so many jobs can be done in this setting. So I was like, dude, this is the most perfect time. So I called to get some numbers from Camping World, right? And I talked to all these different managers. I'm like, I need digits. And they're like, listen, we don't have the numbers of what our sales are. Because I was like, I want the percentage growth from last year, pre-COVID, to this year, right? And he's like, I don't have it. That would come from like corporate. But I'm going to tell you right now, 1,000% different. Every single Camping World that I called, they're like, we cannot keep campers on site. And they're like, because people are realizing they can actually do this. They can actually travel. And I'm like, I know, right? Isn't it the coolest thing ever? So my word of advice is never buy brand new. I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, you do you, but one, I don't like losing 40% of my profit when I drive something off a lot. But two, when you do get a camper, they come with a lot of hiccups. Let the first person deal with those hiccups and not you. Like the slides are uneven, the doors are uneven.
Electrical problems or little fancy lights and stuff they put in them now. Just let them all.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Works and then buy them.
Right. So when they drive them off the lot, it's all under warranty, but it's annoying, right? Especially if you live in it. So whenever you buy like a camper from Camping World, if you have a problem with it, you can take it back to Camping World and stay like on site while they're fixing it. But that's not comfortable. Like you're literally in Camping World's parking lot. And I'm like, I don't want to sign up for that.
And
ever.
Just think all those campers that are being bought, they're full. So it's going to take you 2 or 3 months to even get yours looked at.
Oh yeah. Just don't do it. Buy a used one. We honestly prayed about it, and it was the craziest thing. We almost bought this horrible one. Remember the horrible one? We were like impulsive and like try to control things, and then God. And we just prayed that, oh my gosh, God, just send us what we need. And we met the nicest couple, and our camper is from Alaska, which is like our dream destination. They were, they did youth groups in our camper. They would have 15 teenage boys in our camper, which is big. By the way, I know that I'm talking about full timing and I look like I'm in a house, but I swear I have a camper. So our friend Jenny said, hey guys, like we know you're traveling through and our rental condo open. Would you like to just come and relax for a few days on the beach? And I was like, yes, I do. So that's why we're here. But our camper it's technically 3 bedrooms because we have a toy hauler. And if anybody wants to see like a video of that, I'm sure I have it somewhere on social media. Just ask me for it and I'll get it to you. And if I don't, I'll take a video of it when we get back home. All right, next question or statement. Oh, just the perk about having the family community all around us. It's just really nice to have fellow travelers. Like when we go to Alaska, it's a caravan. When we were in Texas, he just did a 40,000 square foot rebuild on a church in Lufkin, Texas, and it was absolutely beautiful. But I don't even know how many people were there by the time we left.
There was eight or 9 spots.
So then when we finished that job, a couple of them came to Texas with us, and they're hanging out in Texas with us, and then we're all going up to Montana for summer. So it's like we follow each other, whenever you find like your friends, you're like, go come to Montana. It's going to be a great time. Right. And then you just go and you travel the world together and volunteer for God. So I think that's all that I have written down. I wasn't able to read the chat, but if you guys want to put any questions in the chat, I can answer those right now, or I can try to answer them. I might not have the answer actually. Maps allows you to stay on site while you volunteer. Yes, that's actually what it is.
It's usually in a church parking lot. So they'll have hookups in the back, usually pavement, and if they don't have hookups there and they can't hook them up, then they'll send you to a campsite, which I've never even been to. But most of them have hookups in the back of their churches. You just line up your campers there in the parking lots and hook up.
And they're not like horrible. I mean, the one we were at in Texas had this huge field in the back and a playground for our kids. I was like, hallelujah. Go play, kids. I'm making dinner.
And then you go to the camps, like there's one in Texas, the Lakeview camp that we go to. I mean, there's a lake and there's 3 pools. There's an indoor fitness center, an indoor pool. I mean, a cafeteria.
It's not a bad life.
It's huge because they bring in eight to, what is it, 8,000? No, 8,000 kids a week into that place when it's fully up and running.
Yeah, it's crazy. That one is massive. It's huge. And honestly, they feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, when it's full.
Yeah. I mean, if you like processed food, you're gonna love it. But we couldn't eat a lot of that. My kids couldn't go to the bathroom. I was like, yo, we gotta stop. But that one is massive, and that's pretty much what I think the one up in Montana is gonna look like. Because they're like, they feed the volunteers first, and then they feed the rest of the camp, the kids and all that stuff, which is super cool. And that's not at every site. That's at the really big, Bible camps.
Yeah, the camps.
Okay, I'm getting through the questions. So put them in the comments, and then we will answer them.
They can't hear me.
Speak louder.
All right, I see that.
I love you. Okay, maps stay on site. There was a question up here. How soon do you have to actually participate after applying? Kelly and Heather, did they get back to you on your application? If you want to unmute, you're totally welcome to.
That question's actually from me. We've looked into some different organizations, and some of them, they're like, you have to be on the site within 60 days. And that really wouldn't work for our situation. We have our camper, we're getting our truck this summer. We're doing a 2-month get to know your camper on the Oregon coast, September and October, but then we could go after that. So I was like, well, what if we got accepted or whatever? And so that's just kind of what we're knowing, what would be the timeline, because we know this is where God's leading us, but do you apply and get that taken care of and then just sign up for a later site, or is there some type of requirement?
Heather, did they give you any requirement whenever you sent yours in? Did they get back to you yet?
So they've gotten back to me. I have to call in a couple of days to do my payment online for the application, just because they have an application fee to make sure to take care of expenses for processing. But they did not give any time frame, like, hey, once this is processed, you're on the dock to be able to be a part of this at a certain time frame or what have you. So no, at this point they have not. So I don't, when I read through their application process, I read through all the information before I even did the fill out. It doesn't say any time limits on it. So that would surprise me.
I
Okay.
don't think there is one.
And she just did her application. That's why I was like, you're newer than me. So
Because we joined when we still had our house in Florida. And
oh
we
yeah,
just,
that's true.
We just randomly went up and did a church when we just traveled to Pennsylvania and back. And that was
it. You got to talk up.
That
okay.
was a few months after.
What also, as far as letting them know, we probably drive them crazy. But that's okay because we're pretty valuable, right? They're like, when we come, they're like, oh, you guys are awesome. They like, okay, so a lot of the people are older or retired, right? And I'm honestly trying to change what the program, not change it. I'm trying to help me with words. Younger, more able-bodied, not because others aren't able-bodied, but like Shane really hurts himself on these jobs, and other older people are just, it hurts. You see what I'm saying? I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, okay, help me. Okay. So anyway, when we tell them that we're coming, we usually tell them the week before. We're like, hey guys, gonna be in your town next week. Got a spot for us? Like this time when he just called the guy in Montana, he was just calling because I was sitting here going, hey, did you call that guy? He's like, oh no, hold on, let me go do that right now. But again, a lot of the spots are open. So you don't really, it's not a huge problem. Now the big rebuild in Texas, We busted that one out in 3 months. So every spot was full. And that's because we were doing a massive amount of work. I mean, we had an AC like expert there. They had a major electrician there, and we basically got like this church and made it a whole new church. So that was a little bit different than what a lot of the jobs look like. Okay, Wi-Fi on sites. I'm trying to get through all of your questions, and I will. Just be patient.
Most of the time they'll give you some, but it's kind of hard. But now we found this new.
Yeah, the one in Maine. Again, I keep selling Maine, and whenever you get the pastor, Bert. Tell him that Tammy and Shane sent you because we love him. Okay, he had a Wi-Fi guy come out because he was like, I want you guys to have Wi-Fi. So he had him like fix the Wi-Fi for us so that we could have Wi-Fi. I was like, this is weird. Like, you don't have to accommodate to me. So these are brand new boxes from Verizon. Not everybody has these. So if you go to your Verizon and they say they don't have them yet, don't yell at the messenger, okay? So what are these called?
It's like a hotspot box. It's like a router for your house. It's just a plug-in.
Okay.
So it picks up the same signal your phone does. Even it picks up better though. Like, see, our place in Texas that we were staying at it has a metal roof on it, and we didn't have any service to the rest of the house. So you buy this, you put this by the window, and then you got service. You connect it. So it's unlimited data, truly unlimited data, and it never gets drawn down. They don't throttle it down like your phones when you're using hotspot and stuff.
And it's only $35 extra a month on your account.
It's 40 a month, and then you have to buy it up front. And I think it's like $240 up front.
Okay. So this is like our favorite because we actually put it in our truck and our kids run their tablets off it while we're moving. So they don't suck
So
my
it's like a home Wi-Fi that you can take with you.
Right.
Anywhere you go.
And Verizon has the best internet. I hate paying the Verizon fee. Believe me, we've tried all the others. Just trust us and don't get mad about the price because it's worth it. Heather had mentioned a fee for applying. I think it's $35 to apply for MAPS. Somebody asked, what is the program called? It's MAPS, MAPS. Let me see if I can give you the link in here. And if you don't, grab it, because I think sometimes if you click on that, you're gonna be taken away. Okay, Wi-Fi on sites. Yes, most usually. Oh, how do you get your mail and packages? It's fun. All right, so like Amazon, if you're on any shipping program where you order monthly, you can go in and change your address. So whenever we get to a church, or even if we're on our way, so if I'm on my way, I will call and I'll say, hey, what's your address? We're going to ship a couple things. It's going to come Tammy Oshesky, Shane Oshesky. And we usually put Tammy Oshesky MAPS, and then they totally know to leave it in the office. And all the MAPS people get a bunch of mail at all the sites. By the way, you can totally do that for campgrounds too. You just ask your campground, how do I get something shipped here? And then you could ship your monthly programs like that. Now for our actual address, we personally use his dad's address because it's in Florida and we like the taxes and the homeschooling laws and things like that. If you want another option, there's a place called Escape Ease. It's in Texas, and Texas has some solid laws. Like, they're good. Their taxes are really good. Their homeschooling laws are really good. Things like that are what you need to look into whenever you're looking for a state to establish your address. You do not have to live in Texas. So our friends traveled for like 4 years, and they've even lived in Utah, and they lived in Alabama, and they still kept their address in Texas. And what Escapees does is, like, you have to pay for that program, and then I think you pay per month, and they ship out. It depends on how much you want them to ship out. So if you want them to ship out once a week, it's going to be expensive. And then I think it goes with how much the stuff weighs also. Yeah. We just tell his dad, like, open up our mail and I'll tell you what's important. If it says IRS, I need it, right? Okay. Application fee is $50 each. Thank you, Heather. Gosh. Okay. Help me figure out why I can't hear. I wish it was in Canada. Me too. I'm sorry. 3 small children. I have small kids. We have 2 smaller kids and 1 teenager, and they've volunteered with us the whole time. I know that Kelly and Heather also have 3 small kids. So yes, all of that. I think the problem is every time I'm scrolling up, if somebody comments, it clicks me back down to the bottom. Okay, I think that might be all of the questions. What about insurance, Kay? Okay, I can ask my friend Stacy about that, because I know that they use an insurance that it's a Christian-based insurance plan, and basically it's a bunch of people that put into that so that it's cheaper. And I can ask her for that information for you. We don't do that. 3 kids plus a dog. Yes, I also have 3 kids and a dog. See? Yes, dog. Our dog's okay. Yes. I have pictures of Abby actually on the floor of some. Do you have general liability? Are you saying on Shane? Would know, like how does car insurance work? All of our insurance, tags, license plate, that all has to go through Florida or whatever state you guys choose to live in, right? So that all stays the same. And we have our set up that we don't have to go back to Florida for 2 years, right? 2 years. Okay. So you can kind of sometimes get like an extended one. We have 2 teen boys.
We don't have to go to Florida.
Great
We
help.
can order ours online.
Oh yeah. And you can order the tags online. You're
Because
fine.
we don't have no inspection or emissions on our truck, so I don't have to take it back to any kind of shop or anything.
You have to speak up, baby.
I don't have any inspection or emissions on my truck, so I don't have to ever take it back to Florida. They don't, so I can just do it online and get my plate sticker in the mail and everything. So,
as far as insurance, there's actually the churches and maps insure us. If anything happens to us on site, it would fall on them. And like, we actually had this is weird. Things like this don't happen. So this is a bad story. His bike was stolen at the last place we were volunteering. And it was a super God thing. It actually got stolen twice by the same kid. It happened. It was totally weird because we locked it up. And it was a $1,500 bike, and that's not something we usually ever purchase. We actually traded in our golf cart for it. But anyway, the church and maps we were actually talking with them when we couldn't find the bike again. And they were talking about putting it in as an insurance claim. So like your valuables, everything in your camper, it's insured while you're on site with them. So yes, you're good to go there. By the way, the God story is the kid ended up meeting with our pastor and volunteering with us a few days and coming to youth group and being completely poured into. He really needed Jesus. He was stealing the bike because he lived about 7 miles away, and he had to ride his bike to school every day because his mom was not mentally well enough to go sign the papers for him to take the bus. So again, God's always working. We just have to we have to open our eyes. All right. Any other questions? Residency, all of that is tied to your residency. Yes. Great. I love you, Kay. Okay. I'm going to stop recording.